Yeah, man, it's so nice when bands tell you that after a chat as well. Like we chatted to Daniel DK from Banger TV, and he was like, "Oh, this was just like being in a room with some mates." He was like, "I've told you stuff that I've never said." Like
That's amazing.
he sort of said, "I've got stock answers sometimes for shows," but he was like, this wasn't one of them." And then we chatted to Ben from Whitechapel recently as well, and he was like, "Oh, this is my favorite interview I've done on this
Hell
on this
yeah.
press cycle." And little things like that, man, they like proper makes, because it's hard work, like running a podcast, isn't it? There's a lot of work
Oh,
goes
yeah.
into it.
Oh, yeah.
And there's no financial gain to it. It's just for love of like riffs and stuff. So it's so rewarding when people tell you that sort of, when they give you that sort of feedback afterwards. It's like proper makes it all worthwhile.
Welcome back to the Headbangers podcast, where your host Nathan and Brad here today. We're joined by the lads and Bangers and Mosh. How are you guys doing to start off with?
What's up, man?
Yeah, man, all good, all good. Thanks for inviting us on, dude. It's a pleasure.
Our pleasure.
Coming on, man.
So yeah, when we're that, let's kick it off. What is your funniest or worst gig story that you've been to?
Oh, mate, one springs to mind straight away. So I can't remember what year it was. It was maybe 2016. It was like I went to see Lamb of God at Brixton, and it's freezing cold, right? And about a week before the gig, I tore my knee ligaments.
Oh shit!
So I was like hobbling, man, like really badly. Get to the gig. I don't know if you boys have been to Brixton Academy, but when it's sold out, like the line goes all the way around the venue. So we got all the way. We must have queued for about an hour. Yeah, I'm in agony by the time we get in. And then we get there and we find out my cousin's booked standing tickets and not seated. So
God,
it was, honestly, man, I was in absolute agony by the time Lamb of God came on. And then this drunk woman behind me unloaded a full pint of like beer all down my back. So it was just like the worst night of my whole life, man. It should have been a great night seeing Lamb of God. It was just the worst night of my entire life, honestly.
Did you like have to like stand back, or were you like in the middle of the crowd, or what?
Well, managed to get over to the side. There's like a balcony bit up to the side. So this woman was standing on the balcony. She was off her box, man, honestly. She just poured this beer all down me. And I was just stood there like, fucking hell, this is, I just want to go home, man. You know what I mean?
That fucks me right off when that happens at a gig, when someone spills a drink and you're like, for fuck's sake, man.
Yeah, it was the worst night ever.
I've got one that springs to mind, actually. It's to do with Lamb of God as well. But
fucking hell, oh my God, what are you doing?
yeah. When Jimmy said about it, I was just like, fuck, I've got this mad one. And then well, the show had finished and it was in Brighton, and the Concord 2 is quite a small venue. It's not like a massive venue or anything, and the tour bus is just parked right outside, like so. And this lad was just going absolutely bananas because he thought that one of Lamb of God guys was like shagging his missus.
For real?
Yeah, man, honestly, like, and he was like smashing, like he was getting well pissed off, man. Like he was like really irate, and so I went in and I was just like, oh, someone's got to go and get someone from Lamb of God, because like this guy's going mad thinking that he's like doing whatever with his missus. And Randy actually came out, and he was like, oh, show me where this guy is and that, like, and I'm like, oh, he's just out here, man, I think he just needs calming down and that. And he was just like, yo, man, like, you know, he was just like, nothing's going on, mate, like you can come in and that, like it's fine. She just wanted to come and like hang out, so we said that she could.
Wow.
You know, so,
I'm not being funny, but like Lamb of God, like brilliant musicians, but like they're not like Motley Crue, you know what I mean? Like, if there's any band that you're gonna think is like banging your wife, it's not gonna be Lamb of God.
Yeah. Oh, it's funny. That was ages ago. So that was like early 2000s. They just released Ashes of the Wake and that. So it was on that.
Yeah,
what if it was just like a tactic though, just to meet Lamb of God? Like, well, he's like, I've got the perfect idea. It's like, and it worked. He's like, fucking knew it would work.
He's actually just the smartest guy, and we didn't even realize.
Yeah, like, he's been planning it, haven't they, all the way up? Right, babe, you go in, like, you have a word with him, and then.
Nice. No, like, he probably back at the pub with his mates, being like, yeah, you never guess what. So I got on Lamb of God's corpus. I've been planning this for months. Yeah. So I'm out there kicking off, yeah. Randy comes in, invites me on. I'm having a beer with him. I'm like, oh, I just need 5 minutes to calm down. And he went, and then I'm just having more beers with him. And like, he's telling the story. And I always makes like bullshit. But like, yeah, it happened. I planned it, mate. It went out to perfection. But
That'd been
I
cheap.
think like the worst gig I've been to was it was a Sunday show, so it should have been first red flag should have been that. But like, so it was Black Tongue, and every band played amazingly. Right, they played. It was easily one of the best sets I've seen from Black Tongue. Like from like every time I've seen them, the crowd was like so shit. It was so shit. Like there was like people there. Like I described them as like kind of full people that had just had the first beer. Like, do you know what I mean? Like there were like this one like really obnoxious like girl just screaming, and at one point there was just like a moment of like there was just a silence while like the vocalists were talking to the crowd, and she just screams at the top of like her lungs, "Get your cocks out!" And I was there like, can someone throw this bitch out? Like, because like, see, honestly, there were points where I could hear her screaming over Black Tongue. I'm there like, how is this fucking possible? I'm like, why you grab the mic off of him? You have a go. Because like,
yeah, she's actually
Christ.
the guest vocalist. You didn't realize.
Yeah, but I was there like, it was all the way through the gig. I'm like, please, for the love of God, someone throw her out, because like she was honestly, but like the entire crowd as well. Like it just. There's obviously the bit in the Black Tongue song where there's like everyone in this room's a fucking target. So I'm like, obviously you hear that and you're there like, so much going to happen. It's going to pop off. And I look around the room and like everyone's just stood there.
You have gigs like that now and again where you turn up and the atmosphere is dead. And it's the most awkward because you feel like you need to start something to get things going. But then
you don't want to be the first guy to start something and nothing happened.
Like you get like that horseshoe crowd, don't you? Where everyone's pressed up to the back and like it's man, you have those nights, and I feel sorry for bands when they turn up and it's like that, because it makes, I don't know, sometimes it makes it even look even worse when a singer's trying to like let's get a pit, let's get, and nobody like reacts, and it's even worse then for the singer, I think.
Oh
I've been there before. It's bad.
I felt so sorry for every like vocalist that were trying to amp up the crowd, because you were watching them try, and I was there like, hats off to you, like, because like I'd have been like, well, fuck this. I'm meant to be on for like 15 minutes. I'm just gonna call it quits at 10. I'd be like, fuck it. I'm not gonna. I was like, I can't be arsed with this shit.
It's like, if I feel fucking awkward, how awkward does the band feel right now?
Yeah, that's it. Up there, like, imagine like you're playing and you're thinking, do these people fucking like this or don't they like this? Like, what are they into it? Do I move more? Like, what do they want from me? Like, it must be so awkward just standing there looking at all these. Like,
I remember Puddle of Mud, like they supported Korn in the London Arena, the Docklands Arena. And they just started throwing bottles of piss at that guy, man. And he was so fucked off. Like he was like, and I was getting showered in piss as well. Like, and I was like, what the fuck?
It's not a good atmosphere, really.
Yeah, it's just like a golden shower, mate. He weren't happy.
Unconsented golden shower.
Yeah,
it's one of those things where you can literally just imagine the atmosphere like after they come off the stage being like, well, that was shit, lads. Do you want to just have a beer and get pissed? Like,
why do we bother, honestly?
Yeah, like, because it was just like one of those things where like, oh, I can't, I like, because it was a Sunday as well. I had work the next day. I ended up getting stranded in like Leeds City Centre after as well, because getting an Uber now was like rocking horse shit. Like, so like we were there, I was there for like an hour in Leeds City Centre, just stranded, being like, I'm gonna be late to work tomorrow because I'm gonna be in bed late.
The mad thing is as well with that, Black Tongue isn't like a band like a casual person just turns up to see. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you go and see that band, that means you're into that band, doesn't it?
Yeah, cult following. That's basically Black Tongue.
Because like a lot of people that I know, who, like, you know, have heard of Black Tongue, but a lot of like, you know, like casual people that just like walk into metal that haven't heard of fucking Black Tongue. Like, so like you need to specifically go, I am going to Black Tongue at Key Club on fucking Sunday. Like, there was a brass band that turned up as well. Like, they must have been doing a gig down the street. They turned up, piss out their heads, and they were being assholes. Like, so it was just one of those things. Was like, what the fuck is this? Like, is this like? I feel so sorry for everyone involved in this. Like, I want to sort of like jump into your podcast as well. Like, how did you guys all meet? What sort of like the story how Bangers and Mosh sort of got started?
Yeah, man. Do you want me to take this, Daz?
Yeah. Yeah,
So-
take it away, mate.
So me and Defra have known each other since the first day of secondary school. So we've known each other for a long time now, man. Like we're old. Like it's 20, but 20 years we've known each other now. So we've been mates for years, and then we got chatting with Daz just through Twitter. So like followed each other. I was chatting away on there, and so I started up. I think it was like the start of last year, wasn't it, Daz? I started up like a little WhatsApp group just for the three of us.
Yeah.
Just so we could chat about albums, recommend each other bands and stuff like that. We were just chatting all the time on there, just recommending each other music, chatting about albums. And then we just like, well, look, we're yapping away about metal all the time anyway. Why don't we record it? Why don't we just start a podcast and record it? So it took us a little while to like, we're all like technology donuts. So it took us a little while to figure out sort of how to do it and stuff. But yeah, we've made since then. I think the first podcast we did was last September, and it was dreadful. First couple were really weren't great at all. But yeah, we've just been ploughing on since then, man. And we've been lucky because we've managed to get a decent following on Twitter, and right at the start, some people with a lot of followers like took us under their wing and were retweeting us and stuff like that. And yeah, it's just gone from there, really, man.
Oh yeah. Obviously, you've like interviewed a lot of like amazing people as well, including like Malevolence and Black Dahlia Murder, just to name a few. Like, which one was your favorite and why? What stood out to you? What conversations like still stick in your mind? Like, wow, that was incredible.
The Trevor one's got to be the one for you, innit, Jim? Fucking hell, he wished you happy birthday and everything, mate.
Oh,
Trevor Sternad, yeah, that blows my mind, mate. Like, I owe that all to Daz because. Like we call Daz like a PR director.
You need
he
one
just
of them.
literally just chats to fucking anyone. He'll just be like, "Oh yeah, I just DM'd him. Why not?" Like some like bands, you're like, "Oh yeah, you have to go through the record label and chat to PR people." And he's like, "Nah, fuck that. I'm just going to DM him on Instagram and see what happens." So
most of our interviews have been through that way, haven't they? Like a lot of other people go through PR.
Same with us.
Yeah, you just do the same thing. It's mad, isn't it? It works as well because they're just like, yeah, all right.
Yeah, it's like when we got Richard from Cradle of Filth, we were like, he responded to us and we were like, how did we do that? Like that,
that's
like,
the same.
Like you don't expect to reply, and then when you do get it, you're like, shit. All right, who else can we fucking DM? Like, and you just go on down that.
Power hungry.
Yeah, that's it. But yeah, Trevor Sternad, man, that was the one. Like, we had the best chat. It was like an hour and a half long, and then at the end, he was like, "Oh, what is it over already?" Like we were just like getting on like we were best mates, and yeah, it was. He wished me happy birthday on the show, and like, man, it was just blows my mind that we even got to chat to someone like him.
He kind of gives me the impression that he's a very like humble, and he's not like someone that's egotistical when it comes to being a band. Like given that Black Dahlia is quite an influential and a massive band, whenever I see him in interviews, like he's always just very chilled, which is nice and refreshing.
He's like a massive nerd like us, man.
Yeah,
he is.
It's the coolest shit.
Daz, that Carl Willits one was the one for you, wasn't it?
I was going to say, yeah, fucking Carl Willits was amazing, mate. The comprehensive history of Carl Willits and Bolt Thrower into memoriam. Yeah, that was a great chat while he was just smashing the McDonald's.
It was the funniest thing. We were chatting away to him, and he's got like this massive burger. He's just like, there's bits of like bun flying everywhere and like pickle, and we're killing ourselves laughing, trying to hold it together, chatting to him. But yeah, he was sound as well, man.
I love that because when you're interviewing someone, they're like, some people might start off quite stern, and it doesn't send you on edge, but like you're a bit more cautious about what you're going to say, how you should act on the podcast. But then when someone does that and is just really informal, stuff in the base of burgers, or like we've had bands that will just like kind of smoke and drink on this, is like, yeah, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
do what you want.
You want that, don't you? You prefer that.
Do you guys have the same thing? Because we were always saying like how much like easier it is. Like it's more of an advantage that we've got three of us and there's two of you, and I think that's better than like doing it one-on-one would be quite overwhelming. I think.
Yeah, no, like if I didn't have Brad to sort of bounce off of, then I'd be like, shit, I think I'd overthink. Like, because there'd be times where like you know, like, sometimes in an interview, you might ask a question and it doesn't go the way you intended. And like sometimes you can get like a bit, I find it a lot where I get like a bit of a mental block, like trying to regain it back sometimes. But like if you've got like someone there going, I know what to say now, like they can sort of reel it back for you, and then vice versa. Like it's one of those things that's like so much easier. If it was 1-on-1, I feel like the interviews wouldn't be as memorable, like because it would just be like, right, okay, next question. Like,
But on top of that, actually, there was one time when Nathan couldn't make it, and we were literally like gearing up ready for it. And about 10 minutes before we started, Nathan's like, I feel really sick. I'm gonna have to call it off. And I was just like, okay, right. I guess I'll have to do it, because it was like Adam from Lorna Shore. I was like, I can't fucking cancel on Lorna Shore.
Oh, that's
again. I went through with it, and I was just like, right, okay, let's neck a few beers. Let's get ready for it. Got 10 minutes to chug these. I need to get these nerves away. And like, luckily, he was actually pretty chilled, and we managed to have a good conversation. Like, it just kind of flowed. But you know, if I got someone that was a bit more difficult to interview, and I didn't have Nathan there, it would be so much harder.
Yeah. Like that was such an upsetting like moment for me, like because it's literally like 5 minutes before the interview, and like I'm talking to Brad, and like I wish we still had the footage, because it's actually really funny, because like all the color in my cheeks are there, and then all of a sudden you see, whoa, and like I go completely drip white.
Oh man, yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know what happened, but I ran downstairs and I was just like throwing up. I felt like, to be honest, I felt like I was gonna shit myself like, as well. So like I ended up like sort of like almost passing out on my bathroom floor with my pants down and everything. Like put my pants back on, ran upstairs. I was like, Brad, I'm really sorry to do this to you, but I can't do this fucking interview, because I was like, I feel horrendous. And Brad went, fair enough, I'll do it on my own.
He looks like
the
guy in the zombie film that's infected but doesn't tell anyone.
The thing is, I literally ran back down and I resumed the same position I was like 2 seconds ago. I ended up falling asleep on my bathroom floor, just like falling pants down, everything, just like passed out. I literally don't know what happened, because I woke up the next day fine. But I felt like I was going to vomit, everything. Like, I think it might have been like food poisoning, like a quick dash of food poisoning.
Yeah, like a quick salt bay of food poisoning.
Yeah, it was just like a quick, there you go. And like, because literally I felt like I came up and I was like so gutted that I'd missed that interview. And I called Brad and I was like, how did it go? And he went, oh, it went fucking amazing. And I was like,
I'm gonna sugarcoated it, but
it's like the same this evening. Like Deffa messaged us about an hour and a half ago, and he was like, oh, my Wi-Fi's down. Like the poor sod, he's raging, and he does like absolutely fuming, man. He was so looking forward to this as well.
Yeah. Sorry,
no,
Dad.
I mean, to be fair, like when Wi-Fi goes down or technology doesn't work, that is one of my biggest pet peeves. There's something that awakes some primal rage inside of me when it's like computer doesn't work or Wi-Fi goes down. So
man, especially when you're halfway through like an interview or something, and it's going really great, and then like Daz, we had that with Rafe, wasn't it? We were chatting to Rafe, and my computer just died. Like so I do like the recording and stuff, and my computer just died halfway through, and I was like, what the fuck's going on here? And like, it's that, you know, you get that like moment of absolute panic where you're like, oh my God. Definitely. And I'm like messaging these two, like trying to do all this stuff as I'm messaging like, oh my God, like Wi-Fi's gone down, and I'm trying to like fix it all at the same time. And luckily these boys like managed to keep them on for sort of 10, 15 minutes, but it's proper panic when stuff like that happens.
Yeah, it's like so bad because it's out of your control and it's difficult. Yeah.
Have you two ever had anything like that? Have you ever had anything where
so many times. So I work in IT, so like I'm pretty like all right with computers. So like when something goes wrong, Brad will call me and goes, "Can you get it sorted?" But like when we used to do the podcast in person, when something's wrong, like because I work with computers, I'll just sit there and like concentrate. And because Brad frets, Brad's there like, can you get it up? Can you get it up? I'm there like, Brad, just be quiet for 5 fucking minutes, like, whilst I figure out what's going on. It's like Teams. We used to use Teams a lot. And I'm like, I was comfortable using Teams because I'm like, I know how to like take care of this if it ever breaks. One day it broke and I could not fix it. So Brad's like fretting. I'm there like, Brad, I don't know what the fuck's going on here. And I was like looking up everything. Like they removed like the record, but like the record button for the free version of Teams by the looks of things. So I was like looking at the release notes for the new update. I was like, yeah, they've fucking definitely removed that option. So that's when we had to like switch to Zoom last minute. And like, obviously it's not as bad anymore, but we've had so many technical issues. Like our first interview as well, recorded that with a Cryptic Shift.
Oh, sick.
Yeah, our first interview. Well, we actually interviewed him twice. So we interviewed him once in person before COVID. We filmed it in like this practice room. It was really good, actually. We talked about conspiracy theories and everything. It will never see the light of day because the SD card died.
Because the CIA got
like, yeah, literally, we're there like, for fuck's sake. And then we interviewed him again. It was great, and like, but we always wish we could have released that first interview because like
FBI wants to enter the room.
We talked about, like, it was so good.
Yeah, the SD card didn't die, did it? So something happened.
Some men in like black suits came to our doors one day.
Yeah,
like,
man.
Listen here, motherfuckers.
We saw Cryptic Shift recently, man. They were fucking sick. So
phenomenal.
Yeah.
Really are.
But it's crazy because Brad went to college with Ryan, didn't you, Brad?
Yeah, I've known him for a few years. He's a pretty solid guy.
Nice.
So I've seen them like how they were started off. Like they were very small and they've just gained so much success. Like especially after that last release, like saw them in like top 20 Metal Hammer records and stuff. And it's just weird to see like someone that they've just managed to get that level.
Yeah, that's nuts, mate.
Metal Blade as
so
well.
cool.
Like after one album is crazy, isn't it?
Yeah,
well,
definitely.
They've worked really hard to
yeah.
sort of get to that stage where they've been signed to Metal Blade. Like, because I remember the first time I saw them was like in 2017, and they were supporting Suffocation, and I was like, these guys are sick. And I followed them all the way up to that point, and like just to see how quickly they blew up, as well as like Xander and Ryan and all the guys in there. They're really, really sound guys. Brian actually helped us with recording, like my band. He helped us with recording our first track.
Oh, decent.
Literally, I just put a post up saying, does anyone know a studio that can do live drums in Leeds? Because at the moment I'm struggling to find it. And like within like seconds, Ryan had commented like, check out Adam at Boom, who'll sort you out. And ended up getting sorted out. So it's just such a sound guy. So yeah, they are really, really, they've worked hard and they do deserve it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. What would you say is like the key part, like, a key ingredient to an interview? Like, what do you think makes it good? Like, what would you go about doing it?
Man, we were just talking about, like, sometimes someone might come on and they're not relaxed, or they're not, then maybe they're not into it, they're not in the mood. If your questions are good enough, like, you can get a conversation. The questions are the key, aren't they? Like, if you're asking like benign questions that they've answered a million times before, and they're, sometimes you'll get someone who's come on to do an interview and they've already done 5 that day and they're doing another 4. You want to make it stand out. So you want to have, I think the questions are the key, man. Like what was that?
Was it Tris that was telling us about, what was that story about someone interviewing Keith Buckley, and they had,
oh yeah, what was your favorite color or something
and
like
they
that?
asked him something stupid, like
and he was
your
like,
favorite color or something mental.
He was like, you've got half an hour with Keith Buckley and you're asking him what like his favorite fucking color is. You know what I mean?
I mean, to be fair, he probably hasn't been asked that, but I mean, it's just a stupid question. You're not going to get much of an answer.
Yeah, man, questions are the key. And also I think like you guys have got the same when I watch your interviews as us. I think because, like we were saying, it's not one-on-one, it's more like you're in a room with some mates when we're interviewing bands. And so we're all like chatting away, and sometimes you'll ask a question, but we'll go off on like a tangent and we'll be chatting to them. And it's not, I think not keeping it like rigid is really important as well. So having like, we've got a list of questions we'll ask, but if a conversation goes off in a certain direction, we'll skip a question and then we'll just go on to the next one. So do you know what I mean? So it flows more.
So it's almost weird as well, because like you two have a similar setup to what we three have in it, where Bradley and Jimmy, you're kind of like the commanders in the starship, mate, and you're like structuring everything, and then me and Nath are like the wild cards.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We just come in like with some mad shit, and it just breaks the ice, mate.
Like my like key goal is like when we get a band on is Brad's like the structured one, and I'll just come in. I'm like, how the fuck can I make this guy laugh? Just like
Yeah,
like,
same, mate.
and I'll talk to him and like get him laughing, and they're like, now he's eased in, and like because like I find that's kind of been mine and Brad's dynamic. Like even when we were friends, like Brad's always been like the sort of guy where it's like everything has to be planned and but like he has to be really, really focused on this one particular thing. Where I've always had a just fuck it, let's do it. Fuck it, let's do it.
Yeah.
Like,
and I found over the time as well, like me and Nathan have both sort of not merged, but we both become like structured and easygoing. Like I was very even more structured than now when I first started. I was like, we can't go off these questions or we can't go in this direction. But now I'm just like, if it goes somewhere, it goes somewhere. Like we're both very like in sync now, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, we've got the same, man. We'll let a conversation just drift, and then we'll just message each other on WhatsApp on our group chat and be like, let's skip question 6, let's move on to 7. And so we can keep that conversation flowing, and it feels more natural then.
Yeah, I think there's
more
like
authentic.
a term that I like to use when it comes to interviews. Like, it sounds extreme, but you kind of want to break the person that you're speaking to. Like, you want to let them tell you stuff that they want, tell another interview, or like, you want to make them know, like you said, that they can feel relaxed and they can talk about stuff. And then in the end, like, just by not being too serious about it and just like having a laugh, like people end up saying some deep stuff that I didn't think that we'd find out from them. So they just sort of tell us out of nowhere.
Yeah, man. It's so nice when bands tell you that after a chat as well. Like we chatted to Daniel DK from Banger TV, and he was like, oh, this was just like being in a room with some mates. He was like, I've told you stuff that I've never said. Like
that's amazing.
He sort of said, I've got stock answers sometimes for shows, but he was like, this wasn't one of them. And then we chatted to Ben from Whitechapel recently as well, and he was like, oh, this is my favorite interview I've done on this this press cycle. And little things like that, man, they like proper makes, because it's hard work, like running a podcast, isn't it? There's a lot of work goes into it. And there's no financial gain to it. It's just for love of like riffs and stuff. So it's so rewarding when people tell you that sort of, when they give you that sort of feedback afterwards. It's like proper makes it all worthwhile.
To me, that's
like the best one.
That's like the payment, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like when they say that how much you've had a good time, or they'll say like it's a really good interview that you've had with them, like that's better than the money for me. Although I mean, obviously a bit of money wouldn't go too far either. But like, as payment goes, that is pretty nice. And it, like I said, it keeps you going, makes you want to do more.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah. And I think as well, when you get like the band say, do you want to go for a beer sometime? Like if we ever in like the same city, like hey, let us know. We'll go for a beer with you. That's like the best feeling, because you're like, oh mate, definitely. Like this is what I've wanted since I got into like metal, and since I started.
Suck that loud one.
Yeah, like literally, because it's like, how cool is it? It's everyone like fans' fantasy to go for a beer with a band that they really like enjoy the music of. Like when we interviewed Blaine from Banger, like he even said, oh yeah, it just feels like I was just chatting shit for like the last hour. It felt like I was just hanging out with people rather than like an interview. And that's like, I think every podcast should sort of aim for that. Like, because it's an extra level of authenticity, like that you get, because you get like their genuine personality, like, and that's what, in reality, what people are more drawn to.
Yeah, you don't want stock answers, isn't it? It's not what like you could. There's a million different interviews with when a band are doing like an album cycle. Like there's so many interviews with the same person or the same, and if your one doesn't stand out, it's just going to get lost, and no one's going to bother watching it or listening to it.
Absolutely.
Like we always try to attack it at a different angle as well. Like if we've asked the question before, we'll try to ask it in a way that's unique to that person that we're interviewing.
Yeah.
Like even just go on their Instagram and go, oh, what are they into? Oh, okay, so he's into photography. We'll ask him about photography. What else is he into? Oh, he's got, he posts a lot of pictures of his like cats. He's got shit tons of cats. Like, ask him about that. Like, and just like the fact that you go through that effort, I feel like that person appreciates it more and gives you a better answer, because like, all right, these guys actually like aren't just focused on, yeah, so your new album, Was it coming out? What was the influences behind it? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And when will we have the vinyl? Yeah.
And what's your favorite color?
That's it. Bye bye. And it's like, it's just like you watch those types of interviews and you're like, that's fucking boring because like
Mate, I don't get through
releasing
5 minutes of those sorts of interviews. Like, I'll turn one on if within a couple of minutes you can tell it's going to be dead. I'll just turn it straight off again.
Yeah, definitely.
You want to see someone laughing. You want to see like that genuine, like you want to see that who that person is. Like that's what you are. You watching the interview.
Exactly.
Like you've not come there to watch like hear the same stuff about their album that been telling 50 other like publications about. You came because you want to see that person really talk and like really like.
That's why we chuck in questions about like sort of genres that people like outside of metal and like what their relationship with their parents into music and stuff, and how did was their music growing up as a kid, and it gets them like, oh yeah, my dad was well into this, and then all of a sudden you've got an actual human conversation with someone then.
Yeah, definitely. Because if you look at like I said, like a Loudwire interview, for example, or Metal Hammer, like often it kind of feels like they've just gone on WikiHow of top 10 questions to ask bands. And it just comes out. You don't really learn anything new about the band. You kind of speaking about the music. I think it's separating like speaking about the music to speaking to the person behind the music, and that's like the more interesting thing in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Like as well, like one thing as well. Like, do you guys find that because you do the podcast? Like when you're in like social situations, it's hard to sort of turn it off. Because I find I'll like meet someone at a bar or or something like that, and I'll be like full on like really, really having a proper conversation with them, and like this guy's like looking at you like, how are you fucking doing this to me? And like they're enjoying it, but they're like, I'm telling this guy shit I've never told anyone. It's hard to literally turn it off. Like I find like I literally like approach every conversation as if it's sort of like an interview, and like really delve into what they've just
gone too far, Nathan.
Honestly, it's gotten to a point where it's like my girlfriend's friends and stuff like that. Like obviously, I talk to them like the same way I talk to everyone, and I've always been a chatty person. But since I've started doing the podcast, it's gotten so much worse. And it was like, Nathan's great, but fuck me, can he talk? And it's like, I know.
Oh mate, I could chat shit for England. Like honestly, like that's a definite. Sometimes I feel like we'll be like doing an interview, and afterwards I'll think, fuck me, did I stop talking for like 5 minutes and let anyone else talk? Like it's sometimes I have to really like remember that there's 2 other people doing the show with me, but I don't think
that's
you
a
mind
good
so
part
much,
of doing the podcast though, isn't it? Like is the fact that you need to learn the art of conversation and when to talk and when to listen and that, and it's you have to sort of be aware.
That's a very good like analogy, because it's almost like I've learned how to speak more since I've done this. Like,
yeah, you know what I mean? Like you've got 2 ears and 1 mouth kind of for a reason. Like,
definitely.
Yeah, definitely. Because I remember when before me and Brad started, we used to be like quite socially awkward people. Like I could talk, like I could have a conversation with someone, but I wouldn't have like the confidence to be able to walk up to a like stranger or anything like that and just start a conversation. Now I can't fucking help it. Like I'll be in like a bar or a nightclub and like I don't know why, but something will just pique me interest about one particular person. I'll go, oh, nice shirt or something like that, and like I'm like, oh,
I hear you, man.
Did you see him? Did you go to a talk?
Wicked, mate.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm the same. Yeah, I have found that actually at like gigs and stuff. I'll like say, oh, nice shirt, man, or something. Do you know what I mean? Like it's not something I'd have ever done before. I'd have just gone there, kept myself to myself, like watched the band and then gone home. But yeah, no, I hear what you're saying, man. Yeah, I get where you're coming from on that.
Oh yeah, don't get me wrong, it's not a bad thing because the amount of pints I've got bought for me after that.
Yeah,
it's like, this guy's sick.
Investment.
Like I get well proud of myself because I'm like, I'll get pissed on a night. I'm like, I've only spent half what I normally fucking would because I've been speaking to that table over there. They brought me around. It's like some sort of magic trick. It's great.
Paying a compliment to someone goes quite far, doesn't it?
Oh yeah,
Especially
definitely.
if you're like massive nerds into metal, just like sick fucking shirt, bro.
That's why
Yeah,
you wore it.
best
'Cause you want
gratification.
someone to say sick shirt, don't you?
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
why
yeah,
you
definitely.
wore it. So yeah.
You
Yeah,
want
and when
someone
you get
to nod
someone-
at you when you're picking up fish and chips, like or something, and just be like, "Yeah, mate."
Yeah,
It's like
they-
you're
that
about
they
like a
know.
secret underground.
Like, you never guess what happened in the fish shop today.
Yeah.
he's with a bolt thrower shirt, mate. Couldn't believe it.
Shut up.
As I was talking to him for 45 minutes, chips went cold. Great guy, bought him a pint.
I think it's like when you speak to people there and you do interviews, you kind of realize it's almost like applying for jobs. Like, you know, you could say, oh, I don't want to start a conversation with this person, or like I'm worried to speak to someone because of, you know, fear of rejection or fear that something's going to go wrong. But then if same with jobs, if you don't apply for any, then you're not going to get a job. So like, you know, you got to put yourself out.
It's true, man. We toyed with the idea of having guests on, didn't we? And then Daz became like really good friends with Tom from Celestial Sanctuary. And he was like, oh, yeah, I'm happy to come on. And it was like, well, okay, shit. Okay, so we are doing an interview. Fuck, so.
Yeah.
And then you just learn really quick. Like for a first interview, it was really cool to have someone like him come on who was just essentially just a mate when he does.
Yeah.
It was really easy to talk to him. And yeah, that sort of broke the interview ice for us in a way. And after that, we were like, whoa, okay, so we could do this. Like this will work, man. So we didn't plan to do interviews to start with, but when that one came up, we were like, yeah, we can't turn it down. And then, yeah, you just get better and better at it.
Easy flying from there.
It becomes like a muscle where it's like you don't even consciously recognize you're doing it, and you're like, okay. Like did you when you first started? Did you used to get really nervous before? Because I remember being so fucking nervous each time.
Every time, man. Yeah.
Now I sit here and because me and Brad we'll join like a half an hour before and we'll just chat shit for ages.
That's what we do. Yeah.
And like it warms us up, but we don't get really nervous because like I remember when we interviewed Ingested, I was shitting myself because like it was like I think it like a fourth episode or something, and like where it was an interview and like I got just home in time to set up. I had 5 minutes spare. I was talking to Brad. He joined straight away. So like when he joins, I'm pretty sure his like first reaction was just me at the webcam. Like,
because it was like our first one that wasn't with friends. It was like the first one that was like an actual, not like I said, actual band. They're all actual bands, but like it was the first one that we didn't have any association with, like except for the fact that we were just fans. So like, and it was a big thing because me and Nathan are like massive fans of Ingested. Like they're one of our favorite bands.
Yeah.
So like, there's a lot of pressure there, but it just ended up being chill. Like he's just a guy that's got to remember like the people that he's speaking to. They're not like on a pedestal. They are just.
No, they're just dudes. Yeah, they're just people.
Yeah.
Talking like nerves. Defo won't mind us mentioning this, but if you go back to some of our earlier ones, right? He used to get so nervous, he would start coughing and then he couldn't stop. So like,
oh, shit.
Like he'd be absolutely fine up until we press record, and then he'd be like that geezer from the Fast Show. He'd be like, and like me and Dash would be going, "Will you fucking mute your mic?" And he'd just be like. And he'd be like, I don't know what's happening. I'll get so nervous I can't stop coughing. We'd be like, it was every episode does, wasn't it?
Yeah, bless him.
Yeah, literally like there have been like one moment where you like just kind of doing it with like you guys. It's not an interview where you've like had to like cut out bits where like you end up saying something or something happens, and like for a good half an hour of that footage, it's just you guys laughing and like trying to like compose yourselves.
Oh, mate, when we did our roundup show in, I think it was September, when we did we were talking about Rivers of Nile, right? And I accidentally said "Dreaming Black Cockwork" instead of Clockwork. Fucking, I'm not joking. These two were fucking crying with laughter.
Yeah, I was dead.
And interviewing them.
I'm like Brad right there. I'm trying to carry on as normal and just try and let it go. Look, it's just a slip of tongue. Let it go. Nah, these two were fucking dying, man. And
yeah. No, it wasn't an interview. Luckily, we were just sort of like talking about the album. It was like a roundup. He sort of I was just like, oh yeah, Freudian slip there, Jim.
That'd be fucking hilarious though if you were like interviewing the band and you said that's what the album title was.
Oh fucking hell!
That's
But
funny.
We
Though.
had Oh, go on. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry, man. We get this like someone all the time. Someone will say something, and you're like, "Oh, you can't say that, can you? You can't." And then I'll spend like fucking half an hour afterwards trying to edit out the tiniest little bit of like audio. So no, do you know what I mean? It's difficult because you're chatting with your mates, but then you at the same time you're like, right, I've got to remember there's people listening to this as well. So
Yeah, sometimes you just like go on autopilot and you forget. You're like, oh shit, we're actually gonna post this somewhere.
I've said like some things like it's like nothing bad, but it's be like something we'd be talking about like a story about our friend, and it definitely incriminates our mate and makes one of them look like a horrendous person. And like after I call him, we got right, cut that out. Because I know he watches the show and he'll know it's about him and he'll have a fucking right dicky fit that I told that story. It's on fucking Spotify forever. Like we had like one moment where like we were just talking about an album and like Brad like coughs. It's in the episode, but we had to cut out like about an hour of me just crying because Brad just kept coughing. But like every time he coughed, he'd like like an old man cough where it's like their full body.
yeah,
like, like it's like almost as if like something's coming
It's
to
like
them.
convulsing.
Like,
Yeah,
they're like it's literally you were doing that. And every time he did it, I was like, there was just tears streaming down my face. And Brad was like, it's just coughing. I'm like, it's just so fucking funny though.
Just trying to compose myself. Yep, sleep talking's pretty good. Yep, next one.
Oh man, don't record an episode with Deffa then. Like you two will just be fucking coughing at each other.
It's like he literally like holding his G Fuel as well, and it like I was like, like honestly, I was just pissing myself because I was there like, Brad, are you okay? And he's like, I'm good. And each time he did it, like more tears came out of his eyes from coughing, and like the more he'd move, and I was there like I can't fucking carry on like this. And Brad's like, I'm cutting all that out. I'm like leave at least leave a little bit because like there's bits where
snip it in there.
There's like bits where you can see on the cut, like me just like recovering from laughter, like just going like
sometimes
that.
leaving those things in are so funny. Like I remember I was doing like the intro and I accidentally called the show Bongers and Mash instead of Bangers Mosh. We were like dying with laughter and I was like, shit, I better edit that out. But then we just left it at the start of the show and it's fucking... even now, I'll go back and listen to it now and again just for that like 10 seconds. It's the funniest thing. Sometimes, like we were saying about making it human and making it like a conversation with your mates. Sometimes the little things like that are what make a show really good.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It gets like the informal side of things, and I think
at least people want to see that, man.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you're watching a podcast, you don't want to see everyone being really stern. It doesn't really make an interesting podcast. You want to see something fun.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah.
Like we were thinking about having like this series where we get like a mate on, like because we talk about our mates a lot on the podcast. So like our viewers probably do know a lot of stories about mates. So like why don't we just have like a couple episodes, maybe like once like every month, where a mate comes on and like tells the actual story of like something we've mentioned on the podcast.
That's
like
a good idea.
Yeah,
like,
it's a good idea.
Caleb, there's shit tons of it, like stuff we've done, like the one where he fell on a guy pissing in like a cubicle once, like like at this club. Right, the one time he attacked us with like a plunger at Temple Boom, like climbed into a bin at Bloodstock, and like we didn't know where he was, and then like he heard some groaning from a bin, and they like Brad found him just laid there. Like I said, like we should just get our mates on just to tell like these stories from their angle because like
man, that'd be hilarious.
I was there, like I think it was like the best, our best episode we've ever done. Like,
yeah, I back that. Do it, man. Seriously, I'd love to hear that.
No,
honestly, because you think like if it's just your mates, there's so many stories you can pull up. It's like you remember, like even like just off the top of your head, like you just sit there and go, "Do you remember that time you did that fucking thing?" And like, no, don't talk about that. Don't talk. And you're like, nah, I need to talk about this now. Like,
definitely.
Yeah, me and Defo will tell like old stories from like our school days and stuff because it's what you do in it when you're with your mates.
Oh yeah, definitely. because it's like there's not better than reminiscing about it, because like it's funny because like even though like there's some stories where it's like, oh, you had to be there, I feel like a lot of it is people just enjoy watching that because everyone will have like a similar story with one of their friends.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I've got a mate like that. He does dumb shit
Everyone's
like that all
got a
the time.
nutty mate, haven't they?
Yeah, you're ours. Yours.
Yeah. Yeah. Fuck, I am actually shit. That's like where you've lived long enough to see yourself become the villain, mate.
I know that feeling.
Yeah. Fuck.
What do you guys do outside of the podcast then? Like, what are your hobbies and interests? I know, Daz, I've checked your Instagram. I see you do like a bit of photography. So, like, talk us through that. And then, Jimmy, if you got anything that you do outside of it, like, what's the crack?
I just started getting into photography a little while ago because I just thought it'd be a nice thing to do. So I just started watching loads of hours of YouTube videos and stuff like that, and just basically taught myself how to do photography. And then I taught myself how to use sort of like Lightroom and editing stuff, but like not Photoshop because that's too mental. Do any of you two know how to use Photoshop?
Yeah,
I do, but I prefer Lightroom photography.
Yeah.
Do you do a bit of photography as well?
Yeah. I've like me and Brad are both into. We've got our own like photography and videography company.
Oh,
like
shit,
trying to get off
sick,
the ground.
Mate.
Yeah,
sick,
it's like we're catering it to bands like to make music videos, do photography as like package deals and stuff like that. Try and make it affordable as well, because I know from being in a band myself that, you know, it's, oh, we need a guy to do photography, we need a guy to do video. You're looking at like easily like almost like £600+ just on the fucking video sometimes. Like, so we're trying to make it like an affordable thing for bands to just be able to have someone there that's not going to cost them an arm and a fucking leg, and get a quality product out of it.
Yeah, I mean, I started doing it just because it's nice, isn't it? And I think I was doing it and just sort of getting up for the sunsets and like going out for the sunrises or whatever, or vice versa, or whatever way fucking round it is or what have you. But you know, and it's nice because you're sort of like in the moment, and then when you know, and you just sort of like appreciate like what's around you, and you know what I mean.
It's like quite therapeutic in a way, I think. Like,
Massively.
it's quite relaxing. Like you said, you're just fully in the moment. You're not thinking about anything else, but just like composing the shot and just, you know, then editing it later on. But you got some pretty nice shots in there, to be honest. I was like,
thanks, man.
Sick.
Yeah, thanks, man. I haven't posted anything for ages, really, because I sort of like, since the pandemic, I just kind of haven't really been out, and it's all just, everything just sort of stopped a bit, really, didn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Did you guys go out and do much while the pandemic was going on, or anything in terms of photography? Or
I got into film photography this year.
Yeah.
So I've got like the set right next. Yeah, I've got about 4 film cameras at the moment.
Nice.
It created like a bit of an obsession.
Yeah.
I've like started doing film photography. I like it because it's a lot of a slower process. Like I can take my DSLR out and take like 1,000 shots. With them, I've only got 36. So each one of those 36 have to be like something that I really, really want to take a photo of.
Yeah.
And because of how it is, like it's just a very passive thing. So
yeah,
a lot of things, like me and my girlfriend will go on like a walk around like an hour or something. I'll load up my camera with some film, and I still enjoy the walk and like just take photos of whatever like really, really piques me interest.
It's a wonderful old time doing that, isn't it?
Oh
absolutely.
Yeah. It's just like I got for her birthday, I got my girlfriend a film camera, and she started getting into it. She's really enjoyed it. We went down to Whitby for her birthday as well, so we got plenty of photos.
Nice.
Just expensive as fuck.
Yeah, it's not a cheap hobby, is it? Lenses and all the gear and that cost.
No,
well, it's like
absolutely.
On top of it, you have to like pay for your film, and film now's like I think 50, like almost like 15 quid a roll for color film, and then it's like another like 12 quid on top of it to get it developed per roll. So if you go out and you shoot like 6 rolls of film, you've already spent like fucking God knows how much on the actual rolls itself. And then like you've got to pay another like basically the same price on top of that. So you're looking at like, if you like got film 6 rolls developed, you're talking like almost 100 quid just
you
out
don't want to get trigger
right?
like that, do you?
Yeah, like it's been an expensive hobby.
You've done some decent band photography though, Daz, though, haven't you?
Yeah, it's weird actually, because like that was kind of what I wanted to really do with it when I picked up photography. I was like, I really want to do like band promo shots and sort of live photography and that, but it just sort of like never really manifested until recently. But that's cool too.
Yeah, I like doing the band stuff as well. More on the video side, but I mean that's kind of what I did over lockdown. I did like 2 videos, but this is like mates band. So I did one for Nathan's band, I did one for my other mate's band. So one was like a lyric video and then a music video. But it was my first time getting properly into it, so it definitely came with its challenges. But like I do see a progression as I'm going along. But obviously, you got to take into consideration like what you can do with what you've got, because obviously you'll approach a band sometimes and they'll be like, "I want this idea," and it's like some fucking cinematic masterpiece. I'm like, bro,
some Michael Bay 360.
Yeah, like I'm one man with a camera. You know, it's not a cine camera or anything like that. It's just a DSLR or an SLR. So like, you know, we need to definitely talk about this budget. But you end up just creating some nice stuff. But it's the fun of it.
To get creative, isn't it? Like I think like I always just used to like get this mad buzz when you've like created something that's like really cool in it, and just like, I made that kind of.
Absolutely,
nature did it really, but I captured it.
It's like I did so our friend, the friend of the show, and like personal friend anyway, like I met Carl, aka Percy Bonus. He does like rap and stuff like that. Like he asked me to do like the photography for his EP cover. And it's like, it was such a surreal experience, like when he dropped the EP, seeing my photography, like actually,
it's wicked, isn't it?
I was like, I feel like I've accomplished something. I was there like, hey, there we go. It was good enough to be an EP cover.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just sick. Like once you take the photos, edit them, and then like look at them after going, yeah, that's perfect. Like I could not take a better one.
I still get people like sort of slide into the DMs and that's just like, oh, I really want this on a print, and that I'm kind of just like still a bit like, I'll pick it up again probably at some point, but you know, doing the podcast and going to the gym and like working and everything else, it's just like don't really find much time.
So hard to
shit in it.
Yeah, it's so hard to balance everything. Like obviously, like you said, the podcast takes up so much time, and then you know, you got to find dates and there's working, and like, you know, you got to match not only your schedule but whoever you're shooting for. So it's difficult, to be honest. And I think
it can't be raining, which it is basically most of the time, and it can't be like dark, which it kind of is most of the time.
Yeah,
in England anyway. So
not a good combination, not for shooting anyway.
Like, what about you, Jim? What you got?
Mate, really, honestly, like music is my main thing. If we're not doing the podcast, like I'm listening to music, or us three are chatting about music. But I go to football quite a bit. So I've got 2 older boys, man. Like my oldest boy is 18, he's at uni now. And my youngest son's 16. He's a really good footballer. So most of my weekends are taking he's called Bradley as well, my youngest son. So most of my weekends is taking him to football, watching him play football. We go to Tottenham quite a bit, me and him. But yeah, like same as Daz, just gym, and I like a lot of comedy. I work in London as well, so I spend a lot of time fucking commuting. So spare time in the evenings, man, is at an absolute premium. So I just like to stick a good comedy on or something, and do you know what I mean, just relax with that. And then weekends is mainly taken up with spending time with my boys, and we just get the odd gym session in there, and like and the football. But honestly, man, apart from that, like nothing majorly exciting. I do. Me and my mate Alan, we're both big sort of Oasis and Stone Roses fans, and like the Smiths and stuff like that. So we write music together now and again. So I play bass, he plays guitar. We write more like indie stuff together now and again. I didn't
know that.
Mate, we wrote some bangers, man. Like it was Alan is really, really good friends with Alan McGee, who signed Oasis all them years ago. And my mate played Alan McGee some music that we'd written, and he was like, fucking hell. He was like, you boys should have pursued this, man. He was like, you're good. And we were like, what the fuck? Like Alan McGee's telling us our music is good, man. And so, yeah, that was pretty wild. I don't think now at my age, man, I've got like to pursue getting into a band and all that stuff now, I think is probably a bit of a long gone dream. But yeah, it was.
I think you should go for it.
Huh?
I think you should go for it. There's fucking hell, like Lemmy was like at 70, so you know, doing Glastonbury and shit like that. Never too old for rock and roll, my friend.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. No, it's a good point, man.
Get the old Parker jacket on, bitch.
Yeah. You managed to get your boys to listen to the dark side of music as well.
mate, they fucking hate it. Like, I think maybe they're getting into. I think they may be like the odd Linkin Park song or the Avenged Sevenfold or the odd song.
Yeah.
But my son Bradley, man, he's constantly ripping the piss out of the music I listen to. He's like, "Oh, Dad, what's that? Put that song on you were listening to in the car. You know the one that goes." It was just like rip the piss out of me. But so yeah. I'm afraid, man, I've done a bad job with the music front with them too.
Yeah, like it's so funny though, like when you got like family that doesn't listen to like this, like when you're kind of like the only one in the family that listens to it, because I'm pretty much I'm the only one that listens to like heavier music and stuff like that. And my mum's like, because I've got like I'm only 23, so I obviously still live at home with my mum and dad, trying to save for that mortgage, but the housing market's not playing with me. But I'll play some of my vinyl, and she'll like come up going, "I can't even understand what he's saying." I'm like, "Right." So he's saying this, and I'm like fucking telling her what he's saying, and she's there like, "That's just a bunch of bullshit." And then walks downstairs.
Yeah, you try and explain like the goodness of it. Oh, and it means this, and like you just see that they're slowly losing interest in what you're saying when you try and explain it, and just walk off.
If I had a quid for every time someone's like, "Don't understand what they're saying," I'd be on the housing
Screamer?
market.
Is it Slipknot?
Yeah. See, if I had a quid for that, I'd be in my own house. I'd probably be in a fucking mansion, to be honest.
Yeah,
exactly. I paid this in full, mate.
I don't even talk about music with people at work or anything like that anymore. I just don't bother. Like, it's just not worth it. Do you know what I mean? I chat with these boys about music. My dad's a massive metal fan as well. So I was well lucky to get into music, that sort of music, really young. But yeah, I've just given up, man, trying to like defend my music to people who don't like it. I just don't bother engaging in that conversation anymore.
Yeah.
You know where it's going to go, isn't it?
Yeah, because you explain it. They don't want to listen to the reason of why you like it.
Yeah.
Like, they just want to say they don't like it and then move on. So
yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Unfortunate.
It's mad because like everyone at my work found out I was a vocalist, and like they were actually listening to my track, and they actually did say, "Oh, we actually kind of like that. It's pretty good." But like I've had like one or two people from work be like, "So can you actually sing though?" And be like, "Yeah, I can." And why don't you just do the singing? And I'm like, because I prefer doing the screaming stuff. And
but
like,
that is singing.
why?
It is singing though, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's just a different style of singing.
Well, the thing is, I started off with screaming. Screaming and finding like the techniques that I used in screaming, like actually then accidentally taught me how to sing. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, my girlfriend, she says she'll catch me like singing along to like a song in the car or something like that, and she turned around to me the other day. She went, "You're actually pretty all right at singing. You're just a bit too breathy." But she went, "But you are actually all right. You can hold a tone and you can actually sing." And it's all by accident from just doing screaming, like learning how to use my diaphragm and shit like that. Like, it's all completely by accident.
Get with Jimmy and his other mate, and we'll hook up like Stone Roses tribute.
Daz was in a band when he was younger. That he doesn't talk about all that often, but
because
are you embarrassed by it or what's the?
No, not really. It's just one of those. It's not. I'm not embarrassed about it. I just think, I mean, if I heard it now, I'd probably be a bit like, I mean, it is shit. It was like 2000. It was like 2001 metalcore sort of stuff. But like at the time, it was the best shit ever. Local band playing gigs and that. It was like, I'm sort of cherish those memories.
Yeah, man.
I cherish those memories. And we recorded an EP in in the studio and everything, and we paid for it and that, and it was fucking cool. It was as close as I probably will get to that. You know what I mean?
So what happened to the band then? Like, did you just decide that it wasn't for you guys anymore, or?
Yeah, it's really hard to keep 5 people on the same bloody page, isn't it?
Oh, don't get me
all about
on
this.
It's so hard, isn't it? And just you got 5 different lives going in 5 different directions, and one can have a kid or get married or bloody move, or drummers are hard to find. They're a nightmare.
I've always had like a joke where it's like, because like I remember when I starting my band, because I started the band 2 years ago. I like met the guitarist Jordan. He was in like Albion Codex, who we've interviewed. And like at the time, like we were in like this really shitty slam band, and then like we just bounced, like literally we were in a really dog shit. I think we had like 2 practices and we were like, call it a night, like sort of thing. And like so like after that we started like this like a hardcore beatdown band called fucking Knife Life. That fell
Knife Life, that's pretty sick, man. That's
Yeah,
a sick name, man.
It fell flat on its ass. We actually got on like this lineup, and it was actually every band on that lineup ended up getting like it's really big now. And we ended up being knobheads and having to drop out at the last minute because we didn't write enough fucking material for it. Because the people that we were kind of working with were like, they want their main thing, so they didn't really like want to do it. It was just kind of one of those things. So yeah, I'll do it, see how it goes, and then didn't find anything for it. And then started like my current band now, and like went off really well. We've released our first track like earlier this year, and then like Jordan's ended up moving back to Sheffield, and it's just one of those things. It's like trying to organize that amount of shit, and not only that, I do this podcast. Like this takes up a lot of my time. I've got I've got my girlfriend and my relationship. I've got my friends to balance. I've got my work life. I've got my photography, and I've got all this shit where I'm there like, how am I going to find time for it? And like, there'll be days where someone will be like, oh, does anyone want to do some band shit? I'm like, I can't. I'm doing the podcast. Or it's just so hard to organize at the moment.
Life is complicated.
Yeah,
it's just one of those things where
not enough time in the day.
Yeah, man.
I really want to like make music. So I think with Rain Eyes, I think we've talked about like just coming out as a different band, changing the sound up a bit, and like working on it in the background. But I think in the meantime, while we sort of figure shit out, I'm just gonna start releasing my own solo shit.
Yeah, you could do like just like 1-man or like 2-man stuff. Like there's so much good technology now that like my fucking mind was blown when we were chatting to James from Hell Ripper, and he told us like the drums on his album, he programmed them himself and stuff like that. And I was like, what?
Yeah, it's incredible.
Like, fucking hell, he's just it's so easy now to create music without having to have 5 other people's lives to balance at the same time.
That's true, especially with the pandemic as well.
Yeah, man.
Plus, what's mental is like I think someone pointed it out to me, and the penny never dropped. When you've interviewed all these bands, yeah, and you've interviewed all these guitarists, drummers, blah blah blah. I'm like, yeah, why don't you ask them for help?
Yeah.
I was there like, why?
Who do I ask? Who knows about this stuff?
It's like, Will Ramos, do you want to be the vocalist of my band, mate?
Please. So like, why don't you just ask him? Like, oh, look, I'm doing a solo project. I'd really like you to do like just a verse or like a section. This is my idea for it, but go wild and see.
Yeah, well, they might know someone who's looking for work. Do you know what I mean? Like looking for a session thing. Yeah, man. Yeah,
it's just like organising interviews. Like, if you don't ask, you don't get, but you can try like how you guys did, and you managed to like secure a sick interview from it. So,
exactly, mate. Yeah,
just do it.
Don't lose
one of those things where,
like
someone said that, and the penny just dropped. I was like, I could do that. Yeah, I could actually do that. I could probably actually. Yeah, I actually know like shit tons of bands that are near me from reaching out. I'm gonna do that.
Can hit them up, man.
Oh, start DMing like Bruce Dickinson. Hey, you got some spare time to do some music lines?
Have you got 5 minutes? I just need 5 minutes of your time.
Come over when you're playing if you want. I'll make a landing pad for you.
But what would you say as well with like your podcast? What's like the most like the crowning achievement? Like what is something that you've really achieved with the podcast where you look back and go, yeah, that was probably the best achievement the podcast has ever done. Like we're so proud of that.
Man,
I would say the fact that people just listen to it.
Yeah, honestly, that like seeing like people on Twitter recently, like saying that, or like someone put a tweet out saying like, can you recommend some good metal podcasts or some good music podcasts? And our name came up so many times, and we were like messaging each other like, what the fuck? I can't.
Yeah, that was
like it's almost it's hard sometimes to, because you're so involved in it and there's so much work. You don't really get to stop and look and think, oh God, we did that or we did this. But every now and again, you will look back and think, fucking hell, we chatted to this bloke, or like the roundup show, our monthly roundup shows where we do our favorite albums. I love doing those every month. They're always like a massive highlight. But yeah, like Dad said, just the fact that we got to this point is the best thing about it. That's the highlight, man, for me.
No, too right. And I think it's like a good motto for life, really. Like, you know, you kind of go on, you grind and you're doing stuff. And like sometimes you might not think that you've got very far with things until like you actually look back and see what you've achieved so far. Like everything's a stepping stone. Like even a little bit of success, like one person comments or one person watches it, or someone gives you a compliment, or the band says they likes that one. That's the reason why you do it, you know.
Yeah, it's all those little things that accumulate up to make that. Like there, like I think if you live life like waiting for that one great big moment, you're constantly disappointed. But if you, like you said, if you appreciate every little like, every comment, every time someone retweets you or shares or watches, like all those little things, that's what you're doing it for. Like
it's weird as well because it's like it's not like it's easy. It's not like it's easy, but it is easy because it's just like you're talking about something that we all love, innit?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And like it gets us excited and that, and it's just really easy. And like it, you know, I'm sure it's the same with you two. Like, I couldn't give a monkeys if like people didn't listen. Like I'm just happy to talk about it to like other people and have the same enthusiasm and stuff like that. So you know,
we'd be chatting about this anyway. If we weren't recording a podcast, we'd be chatting about music exactly the same as we do anyway. So
exactly. Like I understand why you guys have got like some like, you know, good responses from it, because even just speaking to you guys for like an hour, like you are good, and you know, it doesn't feel like an interview. Thanks, it just feels like we're just four blokes having a chat. Even if it is over Zoom, it could be in a pub, could be anywhere. Like
the pub, mate. It's the same.
We're definitely going to do that. We'll definitely have to have a, like Nathan said earlier, we'll have to have a beer some point, man. We'll have a night out. That'd be sick.
Maybe in Manchester, because you guys live in a very expensive city, so
we might have to meet halfway. Up to Manchester, isn't it, Jim?
Huh?
Talking about going up to Manchester like next year at some point for like
a
weekend or something. So
you guys should come to the Mole gig, because I think Mole are doing February. Is it Manchester Academy or something?
Oh, sick.
So
because we interviewed them and like it was a great interview and they had a great fucking album. He's my favorite from like this year. But they mentioned it like, oh, we're doing a gig at Satan's Hollow if you want to come. And I was like, is that a fucking trick question? Of course I want to come. Like me and Brad have like planned. We're like, we're gonna go get a hotel booked and go see him, because like now we've noticed like a lot of the bands we've interviewed, they're coming to the UK and like doing more tours.
Yeah.
So I really want to just tally off and eventually meet everyone I've interviewed in person. We want to I was saying to Brad, like, I kind of want to plan a trip to Canada and see if I can we can meet up with Chris from Thrashed. Because since we interviewed him, he's been a really good friend of the podcast.
Oh, nice one.
Helped us out massively. I think there's not been like one episode that hasn't retweeted or shared or.
It's massive when that happens, isn't it? Like when you sort of establish yourself in the scene, if you like, or the community.
Yeah, because they don't owe you anything really, do they? Like they don't have to do that. No. Which has been the same with Matt from Vox and Hops and Cryptopsy as well. Like he's been very supportive and he helps out before we even put an episode out, just giving us tips on how to distribute the podcast. And that's something that was so humbling, because like you don't have to do that. Like you're much bigger, and you know, we're just two random blokes with no videos so far. So
yes,
nice.
we owe James from Hell Ripper like pint stars, don't we? Because before it was the same. Before we'd even recorded an episode, he like put we created an Instagram page and stuff up, and he just like let people know about it and things like that. And it's, you know, he's a busy man. You don't have to do that. And
exactly,
like you're saying, it's so nice when people extend that hand out to you and give you like a little bump up. It's so cool.
It's like I remember when we first started, we just had like we put out our old episodes. I don't like them as much anymore, because like it feels like just 3 hours of us just talking with like no like real go, and like it wasn't really defined out, and like we didn't really have like the sort of like dynamic we both have now. We're both very nervous and
like,
I remember we put that episode out and like some like heavy metal entertainment, you know, like I remember we both got pings on our phone like like it was on Twitter and like, you know, if you like midweek metal, you know, you're gonna really love this podcast. And that was like probably like the first initial like boost the podcast got, because we were only expecting like to get like 10 views, and it ended up getting like a couple hundred, and it was just from that one tweet.
It's so cool.
And we were like, oh,
definitely.
this is sick. And when we got to interview them, that were great, because they were like interviewing like the two guys that really were one of the first people to support us and like really like actually push us and like help us out and like sort of share a bit of the love. And like it was just same with like Matt, same with Chris. Like those were two people that really influenced us to start off with. So when we sat down with them, it was just like so surreal. Like and then
I hear
Matt,
you never lose that feeling either, do you?
Yeah,
that never gets old. Like
no, absolutely.
It's like when Matt shared us on the Cryptopsy page, just saying, oh, you know, I've done an interview with Headbangers, and like just seeing something that me and Brad had like just happens to mess each other on Facebook, being like, do you want to just do a podcast? Seeing that logo that we got made on like Cryptopsy's fucking Instagram. Yeah. We were there like,
yeah, man.
It was such a cool experience. I had people messaging me going, bro, what the fuck? Like you actually like he's posted about you. I'm like, I know. I was like, I can't believe it.
Mate, stuff like that will never ever get old to me, ever. Like it won't matter if we're doing this in 20 years' time, that shit will still be exciting for me, man.
Yeah, it's a currency in itself, like we mentioned.
It is, yeah.
But yeah, we definitely, if you guys ever come up to Manchester, or if we are down in London, we'll definitely have to organise some drinks or something. And
mate, definitely, 100%. Yeah.
So we are getting sort of to the end point now. And one way that we always like to leave it is, what advice would you give? Obviously, we usually do bands. So for a podcast, what advice would you give to a new podcast starting out? And what advice would you give to your younger self starting out?
Podcast, start off with, get yourself Zoom Premium or something like that. Like, don't scrimp. Don't scrimp. Yeah, just get yourself a decent recording thing. And honestly, just fucking press record and see what comes out. Like your first episodes are going to be shit, right? Like they are. You're going to be nervous. You're going to be shitting yourself. It's not going to be good. But 3 or 4 episodes down the line, you'll find your rhythm. You'll find your style. And like fucking who knows what will happen. Like literally that is just do it and press record and see what happens, man.
Definitely. That's pretty deep. That's really good advice. Because it's like after a couple, you know, you do find that flow.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you can't worry about like the first one is going to be bad, man. It's not. So like, just don't worry about it. You don't have to
your first swimming lesson is going to be fucking shit as well. Like, you're pretty much going to drown. You might die.
Like they'll be afraid of like failing for your first few. Like know that, you know, with time and effort comes development. So
exactly.
You know, you can sit for ages and think, I don't want to do this first episode because it's going to be shit. Like it might be, but it doesn't mean like the ones to come are going to be. So
exactly, man. Yeah, you'll never start.
Plus, when you get that initial confidence, I find like it just doesn't stop.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Like
no, it grows and grows. Yeah.
Like you get that confidence, and then not only that, when you if you wanted to jump to like interviews, once you do that one interview, the next one gets easier. And once I find when you get like to the 10th interview mark, you're like, this shit's easy. I can do this all.
Yeah.
I like it. I like seeing people like what you sort of touched on earlier, where it's just like, you know, people that aren't necessarily sort of that outward going, like naturally. Do you know what I mean? And you sort of like see people like develop into like a much like better version of themselves.
Yeah,
that's the best.
And
shit.
like, I'd like to suggest like people like watch the beginning. I watch like our first episode every now and again. I'm like, that was shit. But then I watch like our most recent one. I'm going, fucking hell, like we've really, really developed massive. Not only as like hosts, but also as like people. Like we've changed like massively over those like that year or so of just doing it. So it's crazy.
Yeah, man, that's the best shit, mate.
Yep.
No, too right. And thank you guys so much for coming on. It's been great talking to you. You guys are sick. You guys are dope. Like,
honestly.
Yeah, it was great, man. Like,
We'll have
honestly,
you guys on our show as well.
Yeah, man, we'll sort
Yeah,
something
that'll
out
be
next
great.
year. We'll get you boys on.
mate,
Yeah,
I'm so down for that.
yeah, that'd be
That's
wicked. Yeah,
Definitely,
100%.
definitely, man. Do like a full podcast collab out of this, man. Like, honestly, I've really
mate.
enjoyed it.
Fucking always up for stuff like that, man. Always up for
Yeah,
stuff
yeah.
like
Honestly.
that.
It's weird because me and Jim talk about that all the time. Just like, oh, we should like link up with the noise podcast boys as well. Like, we were just like, oh, maybe we should just like once a year just get together and maybe do like our top 5 EPs or something like that.
Yeah, for
It's a
sure.
big collab. Yeah.
Like just a
We're down,
yeah.
man. We'll chat some ideas. Like when we're like off air and over the next couple of months, man. We'll chat some ideas and stuff. Get some stuff
Definitely,
going. Yeah.
man.
No,
I'm
for sure.
always down to be doing stuff.
Yeah.
It's cool because, like, you know, you connect in like the metal community in a way. Like, everyone starts to like get this. It's like one big metal family in a way, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly, mate.
We're all
It's
massive fucking nerds, mate. At the end of the day.
Oh yeah, and it's great just to sort of branch out and like be like, oh, you know, like, because like obviously you guys know Trish. We've
Yeah.
interviewed Trish as well. He's a fucking sound guy.
Yeah, he's
Like,
top, man.
It's crazy to see how intertwined it all is. Like,
Yeah.
like it really does. It is really just like one big community, really.
He is. Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's awesome.
Absolutely.
It's a bloody lovely old time.
Oh yeah. Well, we'll sort
Yeah, we're
something
great
out.
having you all,
We'll get
guys.
to have some drinks and we'll see you guys soon.
Mate, that'd be sick. Yeah, man. Thanks,
Pleasure,
dude.
dude.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
very much.